Do you ever feel like the more you learn about sport nutrition, the more confusing it gets? You hear advice one day that is literally the complete opposite the next day. Take this supplement, don't take this supplement, eat this food, don't eat this food. And it makes you just think, oh, I just want to throw my hands up, I don't know what's going on anymore. Who do I trust? And the truth is with nutrition, sometimes advice works for one person, but it doesn't for another. So what I want to explain with my channel is that sport nutrition, we want to understand it so that you can apply it to yourself. So I'm going to go through some really hot myths, we're going to debunk them, and then I want to educate you to be able to put that information into practice. So the anabolic window, that is probably something you've heard about in regards to protein, but you don't need to nail a protein shake or take a load of chicken breast with you immediately after your run or your gym session. The reality is you'll get the same muscle protein synthesis spike if you have it 6 hours after. Now, we need context with this statement, because if you're trying to achieve a high protein total over the day, you probably don't want to wait 6 hours, despite the fact you would get that same muscle protein synthesis spike. The anabolic window, realistically, is for carbohydrate. Actually, there is a window for carbohydrate where you get more resynthesis. So we want to be having some carbohydrate in the hour after training in that window. But the thing is, we don't just eat macronutrients. We don't just eat carbohydrate. So we eat food, and food is probably going to contain some protein too. So you're going to have a meal. So if you're going to have a meal, you're having this feeding opportunity. You've got an opportunity for carbs and protein. So why not have some protein as well? Although you're not technically in an anabolic window for protein, it's going to help you achieve your high protein total. I'm going to write the protein total on here. We're going to go for 1.6 to 2 grams per kilogram of body weight. Okay, that's quite difficult to do if you're eating only every 6 hours. So get something in after your session with carbohydrate, but because it's food, you're going to have some protein there as well. Number 2, carbs will make you fat. The amount of times I have to tell clients, yes, you can eat bread, it's okay. So let's put some context into this. If you are in caloric maintenance, you're eating exactly the right amount to maintain weight, and then you ate a lot more carbohydrate, then sure, those extra carbohydrates are going to lead to weight gain. However, it's realistically, it is just the excess of energy that means you will be putting on fat mass. It's not necessarily just the carbohydrate. If you were to eat a lot more fat, that would also help you put on fat mass. Number 3, you should avoid all salt. Now, I've actually had this issue come up a few times with clients where they're particularly health conscious. They cook from scratch a lot. They don't add any salt to their cooking. They don't eat many ultra processed foods. Then they go and train really hard and they sweat a lot. And actually they're shifting their sodium balance so that they're not getting enough salt. So if that rings true and you cook a lot and you don't eat or use much salt, you might benefit from having some saltier ingredients in your food, or actually even adding a bit of salt. Check in with yourself. You might know if you're a heavy sweater or if you're even a medium sweater, but your sweat is very salty. Your body will give you cues as to how much salt you need. So this is how you apply it to yourself. So if you're actually thinking, I'm kind of craving some salty foods, that might be like, James, I'm into crisps, I just really like those salty. If that's you, it might not necessarily be that you need the crisps, it might just be that you need a bit of extra sodium. So you can improve the diet quality by not having the crisps, which come with the fat elements that we don't necessarily want, and the low nutrient quality for the extra calories. You could just put a little bit of extra salt in your meals. Number 4, caffeine causes dehydration. So again, let's put this into context. Caffeine itself, caffeine the molecule, is a diuretic. It is going to increase fluid loss through urination. However, the vehicle that most people take caffeine in is tea, is coffee, it's something with fluid in it. So actually there's usually a net positive, despite the fact that the caffeine molecule may cause a slight diuretic effect. Because it's consumed with something with lots of water, there's normally a positive. So you can still drink your tea, your coffee. It is going to help get you towards your hydration. Number 5, 20 to 30 grams of protein is all we can absorb. So I've been through this one before if you've watched any of my other videos, but a paper came out by Tremella et al. In 2023, which completely disproved this whole body of research which supported this. There is no anabolic upper limit to protein. So we're trying to achieve this number over the day. It doesn't really matter how we split it. We don't have to have 5 or 6 high protein meals of 20 or 30. We can have 50, 60 grams if we want to. Number 6, you need supplements to perform. Okay, no, let's focus on the bigger picture with our diet. Let's make sure we're fueling and refueling appropriately with carbohydrate. That's going to be a really big win in terms of performance. Let's make sure we're hitting this range consistently with protein. Let's make sure we've got a wide range of different vitamins and minerals coming in from food. So we're talking whole grains, plants, vegetables, fruit, all of that good stuff. The supplements are the icing on the top of the cake. In terms of efficiency, we've got a few supplements that are shown to work in the literature, things like creatine. Except, to be honest, even creatine, most of the time people taking creatine already eat a lot of meat in their diet. So actually they're probably not getting any extra benefit because they're already getting a lot of creatine coming in naturally through the red meat that they're eating. Anyway, creatine could be beneficial if you're a vegetarian. So there's creatine, that's been shown to work. Caffeine, a performance aid. However, most people consume a fair bit of caffeine anyway. So potentially using caffeine strategically would be something to work on. Know your dose, know when you're going to have it, know how you feel. Other ones, supplements that may be worth a mention here. Beta-alanine, again, top of the pyramid. If you're someone who needs performance in the 1 to 4 minute range, repeated bouts of sprinting, something like that, if you're really going for high-end stuff there, beta-alanine may work, but you need to do a proper loading dose. You can't just take a pre-workout which says it's got beta-alanine in it and expect to increase your loading. Beta-alanine and then potentially nitrates. There may be some efficacy there, but again, it's a very, very small amount and you're going to get a lot more benefit by addressing all of those things I mentioned previously. Hydration is just about drinking water. Now, I feel in the health space, everyone has taken this drinking water to an absolute extreme, to the point where we're now overhydrated and we're spending so much time on the toilet. So actually, with hydration, it's not just about drinking water. Hydration is a balancing act between our body's electrolytes. It's about balancing our sodium in our plasma with how much water is coming in. So if we're drinking loads and loads of water, we're shifting that balance, right? So then our body's thinking, hey, the balance is shifting. We need to get rid of some of this water, so it's making us need to pee out more to create the balance. So how do we get this right? Well, if we're having some salt in our diet, so maybe we're cooking from scratch, but we're adding a bit of salt to foods, or if we're eating some processed or ultra-processed foods that are normally higher in sodium, and some of those are coming in, then we're probably, with water and some of the sodium, we're getting that balance. So the bottom line with this hydration one, the key tip I want you to take home, drink to thirst. Your thirst is going to be a fantastic mechanism to actually allow optimal hydration. We don't need to override it and be just having loads and loads of fluid, just plain water the whole time. Actually, you're probably going to be risking going into your session slightly hyponatremic, which is not what we want. Number 8, you shouldn't eat before morning workouts. Now, there was a bit of a training fasted scene probably 10, 15 years ago. Eating before your morning workout, particularly having something with some carbohydrate or some protein in it, is going to help your workout. So if you can get some carbohydrate in the hour, 2 hours before, it's going to give you some circulating carbohydrate to enable higher intensity performance in your session. If you're training really early and you can't get up to 1 hour, 2 hours earlier to have that breakfast, then I'd recommend having something really small. Maybe don't have the protein part, just have some carbohydrate, which might be dried fruit, a banana, small bowl of cereal, something really light that you can tolerate 5-10 minutes before so that you can get something in to get out the door. The protein before might also help if you're doing something like resistance training, because you're going to get an anabolic spike beforehand. So then you're going to be kick-starting the recovery process immediately after. Number 9, all energy gels cause stomach issues. Now that probably comes about because average Joe starts the marathon having not used many gels in training, follows the recommendation on the packet, has a lot of tummy trouble. Then they go out and try lots of different gels, maybe they're dehydrated, they get issues. So, key things to think about when experimenting with gels. Firstly, what have I eaten in the 24 hours prior? Have I eaten loads and loads of vegetables? Because actually is the high fiber element, if you're really struggling with lower body issues on the run, it may not necessarily be the gels, it may be that the food that you've eaten the 24 hours prior. If it's upper body issues and you're feeling like there's a bit of heartburn, you're feeling like quite heavy in here, again, it might not necessarily be the gel, it might be the food that you've eaten in the last meal. So it might have been a particularly high fat or high fiber or high protein meal that is still being digested here. With gels, the risk increases the more dehydrated you are going in. So make sure we work on our hydration practices beforehand. So we've had some fluid, but there's also been some salt coming in through our diet. We've been drinking the thirst going in. So basically, don't start your session feeling quite parched or after a prolonged period of not having any fluid, because that will increase the risk of you not responding well to the gel. Also, most people don't drink that much fluid during their runs. If you're going to be experimenting with a gel, what we need to do is we need to take some fluid with it, because otherwise we're just dumping in carbohydrate to our stomach, which is already in a very stressed state without much blood flow. So taking water in will help with the digestion and reduce risk of tummy trouble. Number 10, lower body fat always equals better performance. Now, this probably comes about because we see high-end athletes and we always see them on the TV. That's them peaking. That is them at the lowest body composition they're probably going to be at. Now, we don't necessarily see them all year round. They may not be holding that body composition the whole time. So us trying to necessarily strive for that all year round is probably going to be detrimental for us. We need to think about the process that we have to go through to get a super low body fat. Most sports which are power to weight, yes, you can see how a lower body fat percentage would help. However, if the process to get there is not allowing you to adapt, recover and train and fuel for your training, then the adaptation isn't going to be there, so you're not going to be increasing your performance. What we need to listen to, if you're going to be playing with your body composition to increase performance, is we need to listen to the amount of illnesses that you're getting. If you're picking up more coughs and colds, it's a chance that you're pushing the limit too much, and actually you need to put on a little bit more because your body might respond better. I hope that has been helpful. I hope that we've been able to get into these in a little bit more depth than being like, oh yeah, anabolic window. You actually know a little bit more about it now. And hopefully you can start applying this information to you, your lifestyle, your routine. Remember, feel free to subscribe to my channel. There's going to be a lot more sport nutrition information coming soon.